people, welcome back for another episode of the Jagged Edge. This is Ian here, along with Chris.
Waka waka.
Waka 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 waka.
Yeah, I know. I'm still. Hey, you get to come in with that every week. I'm still trying to think of something for me.
Well, so you've been through Pac-Man. You got the Waka deal. I don't know. I love your end of show thing. What you need to start doing.
Oh, you mean the ones that people don't hear half the time?
Right.
Cut them out.
You need to just make a library of those. Start crawling through them, and I guarantee you'll be able to pick out something.
Come on, we'll come up with something. Maybe somebody will make some suggestions too. But hey, everybody, there, we'll go with that for this week. Hi. Forget that I said waka waka. Maybe I'll even cut it out, and you won't even know what the hell I'm talking about now. So this is nothing big this week.
Oh no. But besides an earthquake, magnitude 12, 16.
Yeah,
you want to call it.
This is going to be a boring one.
We really should have just filed this as a throwaway show.
Yep.
So.
But, well, let's see. There's this one thing. Oh, yeah. J.J. Abrams to direct episode 9. That's kind of big.
Yeah.
Big. It's huge. Okay, so let me run down everything that's happened now. That was just last week that it was announced that Colin Trevorrow was removed from it. They say it was mutual. There have been rumblings for a little while that Lucasfilm was not too happy with some of the things that he was doing. Let's see. So it was announced early this week that J.J. Abrams was going to be taking the role. He's going to be the director and the co-writing with Chris Terrio. That scares me a little bit. We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that one in a second here. So Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm, was quoted as saying, with Force Awakens, J.J. Delivered everything we could have possibly hoped for, and I'm so excited that he's coming back to close out on the trilogy. So there's a few different prevailing opinions on this, and I just want to talk about that real quick, and then we'll get into our opinions, which are the ones that really matter. So, let's see. Some people are saying that J.J. Abrams was too safe of a choice, especially seeing that ever since Disney has taken over Lucasfilm, they've really been very, very varied as the choices for directors and writers and such, and the creative staff in general on these movies. They have not gone back to somebody since taking over. Some people are worried that Episode 7, admittedly, was a bit of a rehash as far as some of the story elements. It was, there's really, you'd have to be blind to miss it. It was very similar to Episode 4. The first hour was, in a lot of ways, people are concerned about that. Some people think that this is a fine choice. Some people think that maybe he won't close the trilogy very well because while he comes up with great ideas and sets up a great situation, he doesn't close things out all that great, at least in some of his projects. Lost is the big one, although he didn't have a lot to do with it by that point. But Bad Robot was his company, and Lost was their first baby. That's what made them famous. It's not always the case, though. He's also done some great things, but so I think that sets the picture pretty well here. What do you think about this?
Yeah, as far as the change, there's a couple major things here. I mean, there's the change in direction, but also the date. Now, I want to ask this real quick, just because I can't pull it. What was the initial release date for Episode 9?
It was in May.
May, okay. So it went back to December, which I'm completely fine with for the end of the year. It's a great way to...
Yeah, we talked about that last week, about how that's actually, in a few months, Episode 8 was to be the last holiday season release. Not the case anymore. This change in date is directly has to do with directly that J.J. Abrams is taking over.
Interesting. Yeah, while it's not as, I guess, jarring a decision as some of the recent things we've seen from Justice League and everything else like that, like a complete flip, a rewrite per se. I really don't have beef. Like, I think he can do it, especially because, I mean, look, he's got a good portfolio, he's got a pretty solid base of work. Yeah, there is a history of leaving some really strange loose ends with things. But it's difficult for me to imagine doing that with such a large profile series like this. It's one thing making a point like Inception, sort of leaving the suspension of disbelief for the viewer to figure out, hey, did it happen? Did it not happen? But with Star Wars, I'm not reeling from this, from Abrams. And honestly, I don't have as much of a, invested background in Chris Terrio until I read what you actually mentioned about him, to rebel against it.
That's got me a little scared.
That part makes me think twice. Less so than Abrams.
We didn't mention that. So here's something to say about Chris Terrio. Now he co-wrote Argo. He did that with Ben Affleck. Got huge awards for that. Mm-hmm. But he also wrote Batman v Superman and the upcoming Justice League. Prior to Joss Whedon getting in there, I don't really know how much he had to do with any rewrites or anything after that. But Batman versus Superman is a big sticky pile of shit. Really, and quite honestly, the way that, again, I wasn't there for production, but the guy has to, his name is on it. He has to take credit for what we saw. The end result of that movie, even the director's cut, is just an overly convoluted, horribly disjointed shit of a story.
Here's the deal, real quick on that. I promise I'm not going to spend a very long time on it, but I really wished it picked one direction or the other. We had this flash of I forget what that was called in that DC timeline where Superman had gone rogue, and I swear that series had happened. He was like an arch villain, and Batman and a few others were fighting against him in like a torn future. Yeah, whichever that was. Pick that and run with that, or sort of run with like the current Batman and Superman we know. I thought that created a really weird clash, and I'll be honest, that was only like a 5, maybe 10-minute slice of the movie or so, but I was more interested in seeing that that dystopian look. I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, well, weird. Weird is one of many words for Batman versus Superman, but this got me a little concerned.
Yeah, well, here's a non-word.
Yeah, puke.
Okay.
Pretty much. So you're okay with this choice. I mean,
yeah.
We talked about we weren't doing the show when episode 7 came out. About a year later is when we started. So we didn't review it. I know we've talked about it, and general consensus was that we liked it. Mm-hmm. I mean, what you can't mistake the fact that there are strong similarities between 7 and 4, and that's a lot of people's concerns with this. Is that 9 is going to end up being very similar to like Return of the Jedi or something, in that we're not going to get the closing to this that we should. Which you say what you want about the prequels in the original trilogy, good or bad, they are tied up with a neat little bow at the end, both of them, very very well. So. They definitely close them out very well.
Yeah.
What do you feel about this? Comparing what you saw from J.J. Abrams from Episode 7.
Yeah. Part of that question, I think, relates to another question of what is fan sentiment on what would the fan base for Star Wars, or just viewers in general, count as closing. What would necessitate that event? What would we call a true end? What we just seeing the end to everyone's stories in full, seeing exactly what Luke does, Rey, etc. What becomes of Kylo Ren, the current Rebel Alliance, etc. Or is there a different close that I guess the Star Wars base is looking for?
Well, and I think it is a little open-ended right now, considering we haven't even seen Episode 8 yet.
Yeah.
There's definitely room for interpretation as far as what that's going to be. Right now, we've only seen 1 of 3 acts.
True. But not to derail your first question, as far as where Abrams stands from what we saw delivered to us from 7, for sure, I see the fears. I know one of the first things that I read was this might be sort of an Empire Strikes Back feel for this next movie we're going to see, or we're heading down the exact same pipe, similar direction and stuff like that. I really beg to differ from what we've seen in these so far. This has such a mix of creative leads and everything, and not to beat a dead horse about that, but the direction I think is been done in such a I think thoughtful, creative fashion that I have a hard time seeing this bottlenecked. I mean, Mark Hamill himself, even said that there are a lot of curveballs here that he really didn't see coming, or that he didn't pitch himself. A lot of them that he seems kind of disappointed with, to be honest. And I wonder about that. There's that joke if you go on YouTube about Mark Hamill just basically just goes and takes a crap on current Star Wars constantly.
He's not happy with the direction they took Luke, that's for sure. And
yeah.
I'd be a little concerned as well.
Yeah. So, while that is a source for concern, I know I see just as much potential, development in that as well. I guess maybe you'd call me an optimist, a hopeful about it, but I love the first. I think a lot of my opinion is going to be based strongly on where we're standing after this middle film, and we'll go from there. Kind of like, I got the same lenses on right now that I do when I was seeing Matrix. I admit I tanked a little bit when I saw Matrix Reloaded, because I felt the first movie established such a strong presence. It made such a footprint, made such a strong statement, and then 2 just kind of left a bit of a question mark over my head about a lot of things, and I really didn't enjoy 3 as much, so it's downhill quick. Hopefully this doesn't do that, but...
Well, okay. So now I'm gonna give my opinion on this.
Yeah.
Here it comes. No, I think this is a great choice. I didn't see this because of how they've been picking so many different people for different projects. But as soon as I had seen that this was the choice that they went with, I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And I acknowledge their concerns about the similarities between 7 and 4 and how it almost feels a bit hacky at times as well. But the job that J.J. Abrams had, 30-some years since we had seen a continuation of the story. I mean, we had the prequels and all that, but it had been 30-some years. He's taking the world's most famous and most beloved franchise, and not just that, but the characters that made that so famous,
right?
And he's continuing with it. And not only that, but he's building on starting a new generation. So not only does he have to bring those characters in, but he actually has to sell them in a whole new group of people. Because this new trilogy isn't about the previous artists; it's about a whole new group.
Yeah,
I thought he did great. I thought bringing this world back to life after it had long been put away and buried. I thought he did a great job. I don't discredit the concerns that some people have had. My biggest concern is Chris Terrio at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think part of this is that J.J. Abrams has heard these concerns and he wants to get another shot at this. I think he wants a shot at creating not only that, but ending the trilogy that he has started. In creating the last film and doing things in a way that he can make these criticisms disappear. Because as great of a movie as it is, and I really like Episode 7. I really enjoyed it. I think it is I don't think it's just a good film. I think it's a great film. I acknowledge the concerns that a lot of people have. I acknowledge the criticism, and I have nothing to really say against the criticism of, oh man, well it's so similar to Episode 4, and it is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is, and that's a shame. And I think J.J. Abrams thinks that's a shame too. And I think I think now there were rumors that Rian Johnson was going to be offered the spot. That's the director for Episode 8, was going to be offered the spot for 9. And he'd come out with a statement saying that he just wasn't going to do it. No. He's like, I worked on this was great. I don't want to do another Star Wars movie, basically. At least not right now. I would be more inclined to think, and again, I heard no reports of this, that J.J. Abrams threw his name in the hat,
right,
and said, I want to do this. I want to wrap this up.
Well,
I want to right some of the wrongs.
Yeah, I mean, well said. I think that puts a cap on, I think to words why not just myself included, but I think others have optimism about this as far as where it can go, where it can end up. And I like this idea of, you mentioned of something being buried. That really struck me, especially about 7. I was thinking about the, especially when you're seeing the wreckage of the Star Destroyers, just everything, even like from the aesthetic, sort of this idea that, the old empire and the original stories you read about, that's sort of a figment of the past. There are remnants of those things, and there's new echoes of that happening now, and now you're going to see these are the ramifications of that new world that was established in the earlier, based off the actions of everyone in the earlier films. This is what's been built. This is everything that's happened, and here are the characters now inhabiting it. And it's a real, it's a passing of the torch in so many senses. For me, especially being a sort of outside Star Wars fan, that's one thing I really dig about it. That idea of kind of passing forward this legacy. We got that in the middle of the film with Rey and so many of the others, and then you have that literally in form of art direction, in form of George Lucas himself leaving, in form of the creative staff. It's really symbolic.
He did a great job. He did. The world feels like the world of Star Wars, but it doesn't feel like what we knew 30-some years ago. It feels like that plus how it's grown in 30-some years.
It does.
These new characters are great. For God's sakes, we saw Luke Skywalker for 20 seconds of that film, and he didn't say a word. But they did it in a way where, generally speaking, everybody's okay with it. I would have, if somebody would have told me they were making an episode 7, but I wasn't even going to hear Luke say anything, wasn't going to see him using any Jedi powers, he was just going to stand there like a freaking statue and turn and look at somebody, I would have been pissed. I would have been so mad about that, but no, they did it. He's a damn good storyteller. I think he'll do a good job. I've watched his evolution, and I've been a fan of a lot of stuff that Bad Robot has done. They created my favorite horror movie, Cloverfield, and they continue to make great ones. We talked a little bit about them last week, I think. I'm okay with this. Cool. Now, a lot of people have criticized, and I didn't put this in the notes, that it was his job to put in place this new world that we're coming back to.
Right.
It's been said that he didn't give any notes as to where things should go from here. That some people have said that he didn't know who Rey's parents were. He had really no idea who Snoke was or what the history was. We don't really know that.
No.
And whether he provided that information to people or not, I know he did some sort of treatment that he gave to Rian Johnson. How much he provided, we don't know. That doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't know it in his own head.
Right.
And where he was going. Maybe he didn't, but maybe he did. And I think that's kind of cool that we're going to, at least see the guy who created this new trilogy. We're going to actually see where he would go with it. That's one of the things that I haven't liked about how they're taking all these different creative minds for these things, especially when we've seen up until this new generation of movies, everything we saw for Star Wars, especially the movies, was all George Lucas,
right,
or something he signed off on. It mattered if something came out and George Lucas, put a check next to it. That meant that there was a seal of approval there from the guy who created this world. So it's kind of cool. We get to go back to that a little bit. And I guess we'll see if that's great or if it crashes and burns.
Right on. I have a boy. It just makes me think about the level you'd have to go to crash Star Wars at this point. What they've established. That's difficult for me to imagine. Not saying it's in the realm of impossibility, but hey, this December looks bright. That's what I'm going to say. Next.
Actually, not even next September. 2 from now. Yeah,
love it.
Over 2 years out on this one.
Love it.
But I do like the fact that we're going to get Star Wars on Christmas more. We talked about that before. How we like that holiday release.
Oh yeah.
All right. So there's that. That's a thing. That's the big story this week.
Not to be.
All right. See you later, everybody.
That's it. See you. Like, favorite, comment, subscribe. No.
We're done.
Oh, man. There's a little more in the movie world. Reboot that I had, this caught me out of left field. I had no idea about this, that this was even in the works. Couple things. Well, let me back up a bit. Okay, let me start with the thing I did know about. Punisher.
Oh, yeah. Some photos came out.
Poster. New photos. This was from the upcoming Netflix series, right?
November. Yes, 2 months away.
Yes.
So close.
So if we just get Blade, we'd have that trifecta. But
Oh, oh man, they're coming out with new Spirits of Vengeance comic with of course Blade and Ghost Rider and a couple other people I hadn't really heard of, but that's all right. But Blade and Ghost Rider, that's what matters. But yeah, Punisher. Punisher is all over the place right now with this. And I told you about the Punisher War Machine thing, right?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, everybody's excited about that.
That's amazing and that's scary at the same time.
It's great. But we talked about a dozen pictures from this upcoming series. They look awesome. You get to see Micro. You get to see some other people. Micro is the big one for me. Who looks completely different from most iterations, but that's fine. Whatever. You get some cool stuff in there. It looks like he's got some kind of layer set up here at some point. You get to see some pictures of him from when he was overseas at war. They look good.
Yeah. No, it's looking sharp.
John Barenthal is an ugly man, but he plays an awesome killer guy.
I mean, the Punisher is just no nonsense. Look, I don't care if I got the GQ 5 o'clock Shadow Awesome look. I'm gonna kill you. Something like that's all what you need for this guy. He's not your pretty boy, not your Tony Stark, not your ideal model. It's his own brand of justice.
It's so awesome. He's for people like myself who are huge fans of The Walking Dead. This is almost like a rebirth. A reincarnation for that character. It's just like, okay, so now he's in his next life, which he's even more of a crazy serial killer. So no, it looks awesome. Very much looking forward to it. Especially because like we spoke about, this is going to finally take some of these characters out of the New York setting, which is where the vast majority of all these Netflix shows take place. That's still kind of home base, is my understanding, but you're going to spend a fair amount of time outside of it for once, thank God.
Good. That's always kind of refreshing. I mean, that's New York is the standard playground for things, but if you stay there too long, you get canned.
Oh, it's a standard playground for Marvel as a whole.
Yeah, it's when you step outside of it. I always liked I'm gonna highlight the Ultimate Comics again. I know like in Ultimate Spidey you'd always have flashes to some different places like in the US or wherever, like overseas something's happening. Of course that would tie back into Queens or whatever else eventually, but it's the idea that occasionally you're pulled into the larger world and then that's kind of sucked back into like the main world, but you have those feelers, those connections with, all right, there's more than exists just here. Just good. I think stories need to keep doing that. Keep contacting that larger world to know that's there.
Oh, also we found out Jigsaw is going to be. He's at least going to be in this series. I heard that he's going to be the main villain.
Aha.
I don't know a lot about Jigsaw. I picked up some Punisher comics back in the day. I would see Jigsaw every now and then. And of course, there was that second Punisher movie from the latest series that came out. That was okay. I mean, that was a brutal movie. That was brutally bloody and violent, which was great for what it was, but overall not a good movie. Saw the character there. What do you know about Jigsaw?
When I think of Jigsaw, I instantly think of Two-Face. They've always been very, very, very similar in that regard. I mean, at least in terms of look. And also, I keep this in mind, I actually heard about Jigsaw from Spider-Man. He was in, golly, I forget which issue that was, but I know I read an Amazing Spider-Man where he was in. And I know later on, he showed up in Punisher for us.
Mm-hmm.
But, sort of unlike Harvey Dent, I guess I'll just use Two-Face as my model here. He didn't come up an upstanding citizen, perfect lawyer and whatnot. He had an abusive father, pretty terrible past. Later on, that leads to him, going into a gang life of crime, adapting the name Jigsaw and whatnot. And I don't remember him having any like outstanding powers per se.
No. I think he's just a physically mangled mobster.
Right. And he got into as far as smuggling ops and weapon stealing and cartel ops and all that stuff. But yeah, no superpowers. Some of those can be the most psychological and terrifying ones, though. I never thought he had the same presence as someone like Joker. But I think the cool thing about this guy, what I do remember from Spidey, was that he was more about like tactical strategy. You know, and that's kind of cool when you have someone ruthless and cunning who uses kind of weird, unorthodox methods or knows how to move and manipulate something else, like in a town who can look at a situation and take it and say, I'm going to take this and use it. They can be really dangerous because they don't have to act directly. That really reminds me of what Joker was able to do by manipulating Arkham and the Arkham Asylum games. But then also back in Chris Nolan's Batman, he was really able to sort of steer what was happening with crime in Gotham, and that in and of itself sort of overwhelmed Batman at a lot of points. So good stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. 2 months. 2 months.
Yeah.
On my birthday too. Oh, happy birthday!
Right on. Right on.
Happy birthday. Hey, so yeah, you were going to talk about Hellboy.
Yeah. This one now.
This is fun. This is fun because I've been watching this for a little while. It kept on getting the cutting room floor for my notes, and I figured either Ian doesn't know or he doesn't care, and if he doesn't care, he doesn't know. So because it never came up. You have the opportunity to put in whatever you want for the show notes every week, but I was like, oh, all right. Well, so I kind of figured after this has been coming up since I think about May.
Yeah.
So I figured, well, all right, but we'll get to it eventually. Eventually, they'll come up with something good, like pictures or trailers or something, and then we'll talk about it. Well, here we are, new Hellboy photo. The first one of the new actor in full Hellboy makeup for the new reboot, and they came out with a picture of him all full Hellboyish.
Awesome. This looks cool.
Here's the thing. I mean, I'm fine with it. But I don't like that. I don't like the arm, the big giant arm hand that looks doesn't look like it's part of him. It looks like a giant glove.
Right.
And it's my understanding now. For context, I am not a fan of the comics. I'm not a fan of the comics. I just never read them. I knew they existed. I've seen plenty of their art. They look great. But I'm not a fan. So, but it's my understanding that part of that gigantic arm and fist is supposed to be part of him, and that looks like a giant glove.
Right.
Do you know?
As far as for his power set and exactly what that means, but you got me beat there, man. I mean, it's got, when you kind of compare, side to side, at least, I know like the first image we have is kind of shadowed, but the other that was released, it creates this weird asymmetrical balance. So it looks kind of like off, but as far as the powers, no, I'm really not too sure exactly why he has a gauntlet, what it does.
Well, maybe it's not a gauntlet, or maybe they got it wrong the first time. I don't know with the other movies. I don't know. Besides that, he definitely looks a bit more feral. I think would be a good word.
He does, especially with the hair struck me too. Being it's loose, a little longer, a little wilder of a look, and whatnot. Definitely. But I think the cool thing about Hellboy is that it only takes those subtle tweaks to do that. He's just very iconic. I mean, there's just a few things you can't change. I mean, the sawed-off horns, and like the rest of his look, like that's simply him. But it's cool that you could still bring fresh breath like this to the character, to the new releases we'll have coming up, and once again, man, freaking Netflix.
What about Netflix?
Oh man, I love. Wouldn't I could be completely off on this because I kept thinking, wait, this was a full movie. I kept thinking this was going to be a series. My bad.
No, yeah, this has nothing to do with Netflix.
My bad.
Do you want me to cut the movie out?
No, don't leave it. You're fine.
Okay, I can cut it out. You hit the floor with Waka Waka.
Waka Waka. Hey, if I can get the power up, if I can get the cherries, that'd be cool.
Get the what?
The power up that, like, if we're talking about Waka Waka, I think of Pac-Man. You get that power up that like scattered all the ghosts for a second, and then you could like go crazy, okay, like getting the cherries and the rest of the points. Yeah.
You want that? You want what? You want me to edit that in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Done. Done.
Thanks.
Okay. Keep going though.
All right. The deal with this one though, and you had a note about this, was that this was in no way at all attached to either of the prior two movies we had.
No, it makes me sad.
It's funny. As much as I talk about Hellboy, at least his look being iconic, the character having a lot of iconic traits. Whenever it's warping my mind now. Whenever I see Hellboy, I think of Ron Perlman. It's just that jaw, man. It might take a second for me just getting used to someone else there, but I'm not complaining at all. I do want to figure out, obviously what's behind the glove and whatnot, but
if it's a glove,
if it is, whatever it is, we'll see. We'll see. Let me ask this though. With you saw the originals, right? The other two.
Yeah. First one's okay. It's fine. Actually, I just saw that not too long ago. It was on television. It's all right. It felt a little dated, but it was fun. Still good story. The second one is just beautiful. Beautiful. Everybody says it's a beautiful movie. Looks so good. It's because everybody says it because it is. Beautiful movie. They did a great job.
Yeah.
And they left it on quite a cliffhanger. So, I know Ron Perlman's been trying to get the last part made for forever, and in the last year or so, that finally got the axe put to it once and for all. So, but
that's a bummer.
All right. I mean, I'm not a fan. I'm okay. I'll go watch it. Hey, Hellboy's fun.
So maybe a bit early for a reboot.
Well, yeah, and I don't remember all the details of this, and there was a reason why they decided to go with it now. Kind of like, I think it was similar to Sony with Spider-Man, where they have to do it so often or they lose rights. But that's the weird thing. The reason they're making this is because the rights were reverted back to somebody else. The creator of Hellboy had to sign off on this. I think just like he had to with the other ones. But at least as far as who had the rights to the movie, that either was going to change hands or had just changed hands, and then they were like, all right, now we can make it. But, I mean, it's been about 10 years.
Wow. Doesn't seem like that long.
Yeah, well, you're so busy with the chicks.
And here I am getting old. Sheesh. Stay thirsty, my friends.
Stay thirsty. I don't know what that means, but let's do it.
Most interesting man in the world. Never mind.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
That's you. Sure.
Yeah.
So completely new creators. It's fine. Yay, Hellboy.
Go. I'll check it out.
Yes. Yeah. We'll probably even review it.
Yep.
Probably won't be up for another couple years though.
Alas. At this point, I really feel with all the epic stuff we have on a constant basis in the clouds, I almost feel that coming soon should just be a trademark.
Are you doing commentary on the current state of movies?
Maybe.
This is no place for that.
Your face is no place for that.
No. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah, it's things are definitely, there's a lot of rehash, and things are definitely spun a bit quicker than they used to be.
Yeah, but no, I want to highlight that I don't really mean that as much of a negative connotation as though I'm dying here. I guess the fun part is there's always something I'm looking forward to seeing. I have not been bored over these years at all between Marvel and everything else. My God, man, it's an epic time to be a fan of nerddom.
Yes.
We have from all fronts. If you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a DC fan, if you're a Marvel fan, if you're a fan of the more obscure or like just some graphic novel you never thought would become a movie, like it's all happening at once. And sometimes, oh man, I can't handle it.
Let me just comment on that real quick. I mean, growing up in the '80s, I got a lot of this stuff first. First Star Wars, first Transformers, first for just nerdom just blew up. Dungeons and Dragons. I was there for the infancy of it. you guys get it now with all this great stuff and all the trial and error after about 30 years.
Yeah, yeah. And we're at...
That's why I still love it. That's why I'm a great big kid, because like, oh, you have all my stuff and you're just making it cooler, except for Transformers. But that's all right. You'll fix it.
And that's got to be awesome. I mean, for you too, man. I mean, anything that you saw and you loved, we're at the point now where we have not just a creative license, but we got the tech to do it, and make just sick portrayals about whatever you can think of. Love it.
Well, that's why the first Transformers movie is okay, even though I'm not a big fan of how Michael Bay went with how like Transformers look and stuff and that style. Like, he didn't need to make it so hyper realistic, almost to the point of them not being realistic. But still to see them come to life like that was cool. Then until he ripped Jazz into that was bullshit. But
amen to that. I'm still jarred. Oh, don't remind me. Hated that.
These Autobots and Decepticons have been fighting against each other for God knows how long, eons. I think is what they say in the Bayformers universe, and then Megatron can just rip one in two.
Yep, done.
Why wasn't this war done a long time? when they're only scared of a handful of them, the rest of them are really just cannon fodder. But the issues of the Bayformer movies, there's maybe even a topic we won't ever tackle, because I think they're going to be coming to an end here sooner than later.
Bayformer, coin that.
Have you ever heard them called like that?
No. I like it.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not taking credit for it.
Okay, good. It happened elsewhere.
Came up with that a long time ago.
Okay.
Bayformers, that's what they call them. That's when you're talking about something shitty. Anyways, we got a lot more show to do yet. Speaking of something that hopefully is not shitty, but we are a little concerned about.
Yeah, cracking right on it.
Second of 3 prequels came out this week. The short film prequels for Blade Runner 2049. This one called not Blade Runner, but it's called 2048. Nowhere to Run. This is fun. I enjoyed the shit out of this. I am happy to have seen Dave Bautista's career from the start in wrestling till now. I mean, actually, I'll stop there for the moment. You go ahead.
No. I was about to comment. I think we're going the same direction here. Batista has really had a chance to illustrate range. I think in terms of roles, what he's done and what he's doing now as an actor, this is great. Going from wrestling and some of the more obscure. He was in that martial arts flick. What was it? Like The Man with the Iron Fist, and just a bunch of others. And then, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy, and now we're here. So he's just had this steady rise into film, and most importantly, like nerddom. The guy cemented himself pretty well. So.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, you said it, range. He shows a fair amount of range in this short 6 minutes film.
He does.
A lot of fun. You guys should check it out if you're even a casual fan and you're planning on going to see Blade Runner 2049. This one and the prior one's definitely giving some depth to what we're going to be seeing. Comes out October 6th, so we're just 3 weeks away.
Right.
3 weeks away from Blade Runner. So we got one more short film coming, though. This is only the second of 3. So
cool with me, as long as they don't spoil too much or give away the good cards. I'm good with it.
All right.
I doubt they will, but
I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, as iconic as the original Blade Runner was, I mean, this is one where I'm not foaming at the mouth for. I'm definitely going to check it out just because, but.
Oh no! It's not because of that. It's because I'm sure, just like the first movie, I'm not going to understand what the hell I'm seeing until I've seen it about 5 times. I just watched it. I bought the final cut not too long ago here this summer and watched it. I still don't understand what the hell I saw. And part of that, I know what this one is because I've seen so many different versions over 3 decades that I'm like, what? I thought this happened. No. Yes. No. It is a very subtle movie, the original,
right?
And with a lot of things. And if you're not paying attention, you may not even know that some of those characters are cyborgs.
Right.
which is kind of the point for some of it. But yeah, that's definitely part of the story they're trying to tell with the first movie. But I know part of it is the fact that I've been watching that movie. I literally remember the first time watching it. I don't know if I've told this story. I know I've told you the story. I don't know if I've said it on the show. I was like 6 years old. I'm home from kindergarten, and my mom's got cable and HBO, which is all pretty new stuff at that point. And I'm just sitting there on the floor eating peanut butter toast, watching this movie, and it's like I know that's Han Solo. I don't know any of these other people, but even then, Harrison Ford is a good enough actor. Where it's like, oh, he's Han Solo, but he's not acting like Han Solo. So I'm a little confused at the same time. But my peanut butter toast is good, so I just keep going. But yeah, I mean, I've been watching. I probably shouldn't have been watching that movie. I mean, it was rated R. I probably shouldn't have been
No, you probably shouldn't. But you're the same guy that got started on HBO early, too. I mean,
yeah, I mean, oh my God, the language. Because I mean, HBO back then it was just movies and it was comedy. That's all. It was movies and stand up.
oh man,
It's something that Netflix, in large part, seems to be following nowadays, which I'm fine with. But yeah, oh my God! And then when I discovered HBO after midnight on the weekend, now we're talking a different kind of movie.
wow.
There you go. But yeah, no. Anyways, I don't know. It's gonna be a ride. That's all I know. I'm expecting a ride from it. Will it be good? I don't know. We'll see.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah, you have some gaming news.
Yeah, clocking right on into gaming. A couple pieces here. Bruce Straley. This was one of the creative minds at Naughty Dog. Some of his credits are The Last of Us, Thief's End, as well as credits on Jack Daxter, and also Uncharted. In fact, one more recent Uncharted is one of the current releases, more current releases for Naughty Dog. Sort of surprising, but there wasn't a whole lot of fanfare about this. He made a statement, got posted on Naughty Dog's primary site. Of course, IGN and a few other outlets picked it up. And really, he just simply made his piece. He talked about a brief sabbatical for a time, which just actually moved into a full departure. Just he said, "Hey, it's time for me to go ahead and move on." He's had a long-standing career. He started all the way back in '99. Naughty Dog. He's working everything from Crash Bandicoot and, of course, Jack and Dax, etc., etc. And while he did have some directing parts, I know he mostly did design and artistry. And the information I had to do a little bit of research because you gave me no notes. But, Go swim.
You stepped away for a minute, so I started looking up. He started as a texture designer in '99.
Cool.
And worked his way up.
And then how it goes.
That's how at least it used to go. I don't think it goes like that much anymore.
Who you know? Oh man, but now the interesting thing about this and where this sort of relates to Last of Us, there were a lot of people that it said that it was known, and in fact, even based off his own statements, that he probably was not going to be part of the creative design for Last of Us 2 or very involved in it at all.
That's what I was hearing as well.
Yeah, and now I want to know if you know about this one. There's a bit of a fan theory here as we sort of pull into Last of Us 2. The setting, there's a lot of people that are thinking that this is going to be at least partially set in Seattle.
Why are you even talking to me about this game?
I know. Like, yeah. Why would the guy who's never even finished it yet even mention this?
Because it's like you're going out into a field of landmines, and because I don't want to ruin anything, but then you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna walk out in this field.
I'm gonna honey badger it. No.
Kind of are. I'm not going to comment.
Fair enough.
I'm not spoiling this for you.
You didn't take the bait. All right.
I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay. Deal.
You need to just play it. Because
Deal.
I'm over here waiting every week.
All right, deal. No, seriously, all I had in that. I just honestly tossed that little irritant out there. But no, the only reason I mentioned that was because of his sort of non-involvement on the second part and sort of a little bit of what we've heard out there for it. So.
That is actually why I got concerned, because I love that game so much, and so does so many other people. Come to find out, he actually did play. He was a co-director for that game, especially when it came to some game balance issues as far as the field and the movement of the game. And by movement, I mean more of a metaphorical, not how the characters actually moved. But the pacing, let me put it that way. But it said that he's had no role in The Last of Us 2. So that kind of gets me a little concerned as to what the fuck, why wasn't he in this to begin with? I mean, obviously that is one of your most popular, if not most popular, definitely most beloved game that you've ever come out with in Naughty Dog's awesome career of game development. Why would you not put him back in that seat? I don't know. There's so many reasons for these things. But this, hey, it's got me a little worried.
Right. Well, with as many awards as the first got, if they stay on track, and if I actually, be a decent human being and finish the game, maybe join in with some of my own opinions on that. Should be a blockbuster.
I'm going to lay this down.
What you got?
You have until they come out with an actual trailer, because they came out with an announcement trailer. That they did that a long time ago. But you have until they come out with a regular trailer for this game. At which point I am spilling the beans.
Deal.
Okay.
Got yourself a deal.
Because there comes a point where it's like, well, I'm going to want to start talking about this on the show. Right now, there's like pretty much no news. This is actually the biggest news for The Last of Us that has come out since they've announced the sequel, which is really not even Last of Us news.
There you have it.
So, all right, you have until then.
Homework.
At which point I'm going to gut this thing like a piñata.
Well, like I said, I'm gonna honey badger it. Do it.
As they're going to throw an army of honey badgers at my piñata.
Deal. The bigger piece of gaming news I got this week was actually from EA. EA Games is trying to move to something of a subscription model, sort of like Netflix.
Dumb.
Yeah. The idea behind it.
But tell me more, because I'm just basing that comment off.
I don't know.
You just said.
No, I get you. I'm gonna jump in. Actually, jump into this a little bit. This piece of news actually came by a statement made by one of the VPs of Investor Relations. His name, Chris Everden. He says, EA is working behind the scenes to make a completely new streaming platform, and I quote, "We've been building an infrastructure both from a product and a managing perspective so we can move our slate across to new platforms. And we can move our new games across new platforms as well. So all these things we've been working on for at least 5 or more years now. I think it's inevitable that the gaming entertainment world will move in much the same way that the music and video entertainment worlds have already moved, in the sense that people have moved from an ownership model to an access model. And you'll see that in gaming just as you've seen it with Spotify, Netflix, and other media businesses."
Now I know this is dumb.
Yeah. Now you got the framework for it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's supposed to be dead right now.
Yeah. Dead Rising. No, I'm just kidding.
No. CDs are supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
DVDs are supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
Buying your game at a store is supposed to be dead. None of these things are dead. None of these things are even close to dead.
No.
So this is dumb.
And this is this is one of those we've seen this before. It's sort of a bet that is on a changing landscape, that it will change to a certain point and make the past pieces of it irrelevant. But that's really a ham-handed way, I think, of looking at the gaming industry and how we as gamers consume this stuff and what we do with it. I mean, there's digital convenience, of course, for downloading, being able to get stuff like that. But like you said, in no way has that overridden a good old physical copy. I still prefer walking in, picking up my physical copy, and slamming that disc in.
The conspiracy theorist in me says this is the gaming industry's new attempt at battling pre-owned games.
Yeah.
And this, like their previous ones, will fail.
They can have fun with that.
People want a physical game, not for people like you and I who just grew up with that, but
right.
also because they want to sell their games.
Exactly. It's funny though listening to the counterpoints that I think those that are trying to drive this raise, and every time they drive it, it ends up falling on its face. But there's one other comment I think that stands out. Check this out. Everton also, he's basically making the argument that it's going to be cheaper in the end for the consumer after everything's said and done. So I quote, right now, if you want to play FIFA, for example, in the US, it's going to cost you $460. You got to buy the game, you got to buy the console, and then in a streaming world, it could be up to like maybe $9.99, $10 a month. He said the commercial details still have to be worked out, but whatever number it ends up at, it's very much likely to be less than $460. So there you go. That extends your market because all you need locally is literally a smart TV and you're good. No console. None of that.
Because everybody knows that once you've played your game, you have to throw the console out with it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. See? You got it.
That is poor salesmanship on their part. Okay, they're already failing miserably at this, but let's continue.
No, that's really his primary counterpoint. This idea that the console itself goes obsolete, that all this stuff can move to smart TVs and all that, and
you need more than just the TV.
Exactly.
This is so damn it! I'm having too much fun with this.
I figured you'd like it.
I mean, are they coming out with like with one of those streaming services? I mean, you can. What are they called? Roxios or whatever? I forget what they are.
Something like that.
I think that was a thing, but I don't think that's it. But you can buy these little things that are just for streaming. They're just for like I stream off of my consoles, but there are little boxes that you can buy for that. Is EA coming out with that? Are they coming out with like a $30 streaming thing for their system, which is just connects to the TV with a controller?
No plans for it. They don't know.
Then what are they talking about? This is going to cost them $400+ anyways. But I love it. Let's keep going.
Well, I'd love to keep going on this, but I can't. I mean,
here's the thing. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. What strikes me about this is it's sort of basing an argument off of a model that's not fully in place yet. In that, in my opinion, at least, is a gamble about where things will head. Like that first part of the article I commented on. I don't see this unfolding with the way this guy's looking at it at all.
Well, no, it's definitely not going to unfold the way that he's trying to sell it.
No.
Here's my take on this. Now, it's almost like we had a moment in between now and a minute ago that through movie magic, people won't know was there. So I had a little bit of time to think about this outside of my knee-jerk reaction, which I still go with. Here's what I think about this. Now, this sounds like he's talking about going everything server-based, which is something that they've been working on for, I'd say, about a decade now.
Right.
And have a lot of the mechanics and a lot of the, have it all done on their servers, and basically all the actions are streamed through. And for some games, that's fine. For a lot of your phone-based games, that's fine, and that works.
Right.
It's interesting. A couple weeks ago, I was over at a friend's house, a very close friend. And her kids, while not really my nieces, they basically are. I'm their godfather. They just moved into a new home, and school was about to start. And so my goddaughter came out. We were out in the garage talking about stuff and just hanging out. And she comes out, she's like, "Hey, where's my Xbox? I want to do some gaming before I have to go back to school tomorrow." And they're like, "Well, it's probably one of these boxes here. They haven't got everything, unboxed and moved in yet. So it's probably one of these boxes." And she's upset about it. She really wants to do some gaming. She's not a big gamer, but she wanted to play some video games. And I had said, "Well, why don't you just play some games on your phone?" He said, "No, I want to do some real gaming."
Okay.
Fair enough, but even to someone who is 17 years old, who is their target audience for their games. Maybe not for their bread and butter, their bread and butter sandwiches there, their sports games, which is EA's bread and butter. But that's not all their games. This is someone who who is looking at these more simpler controls and these web-based, certain web server-based games and saying, no, I want to do some real gaming.
Enough said.
I mean, there it is. And that is there. I accept the fact that I'm no longer part of the number one top demographic for these people, for movies and games and such. I'm definitely up there because we are the ones who make all the money. But, and they don't. So we're usually the ones that end up having to pay for these things for their target audience now. But, I mean, there it was.
Wow.
I was a little surprised by that. She's not a big gamer, but she still feels that there's a difference. Even at her age. There's a difference between these web server-based games, these phone games, these streaming games, and in what she said are real games.
Wow. Well, I mean, hey, that makes the mark. It's I really wish the execs talking about the stuff would really put their ear to the ground and really tune in to I think the way gamers at large feel about it. I think she's echoing a sentiment. PC and console are still living strong. We're not at the point where we equivocate phone equals PC is to PS4. Like, you have your MOBAs and stuff like that. Yeah, there's some cool stuff for on the go. We've talked in a past show about, there's like an MK game. There's all kinds of like FF-based games. Although a lot of the Final Fantasy games it's the full game. I mean, you can play FF7 and stuff on your phone now, like FF5 and all that. But still, no, hey, there you go. There you have it. I mean, I think MOBAs are still a bite-sized experience compared to what you get on PC and full console. So,
in so many ways, the audience, the gamers, have created the industry to what it is. It's been a lot of hit and misses, it's been a lot of innovations, but in large part, we have voted with our dollars as to this is what we like and this is what we want. And is EA big enough to try something like this and see if it works? Absolutely. While it may ruin a quarter or two, they'll be fine. They're big enough. But, if they try shoving this down people's throats, and if they're way too evasive about it and just are ruining people's experience, they're going to find themselves in trouble. But they can try this. But they're going to try it, and it's probably going to fail. But hey, that's how we learn things. Eventually, the real smart people stuck their finger in the light socket.
Yep.
Because they weren't going to say no until they felt it for themselves.
Cool.
Did you do that?
All the time.
Did you actually get shocked?
No, I didn't. No, my folks freaked out about that, man. They're like, "Do not get anywhere near." No, I didn't. I didn't mess with any switches.
I'm not saying like with a fork.
No, still, there's like, no, stay the hell away from that. Don't.
Okay.
I'm like,
I tried it.
You did.
My whole left arm was numb for like half a day.
Oh, good lord, man.
It was like never again.
Well, you learned.
The hype. It was all about the hype.
That's great, man. I got one more piece of news. This is actually not as much news as it is something that's on the rumor mill. This is a possible, and I repeat, possible AAA RPG. This is based off of from Obsidian Games. The rumor comes from actually all the way back in 2016. Executives Tim Kaine and Leonard Yarski, they announced a secret project they were working on. Nothing was said, any details about it, except it was going to use the Unreal Engine 4. Just recently, within the last week or so, there was a senior UI artist position that was actually posted on Obsidian.net. They're looking for, so the major requirements, 7+ years of pro experience working as a UI artist in computer or console gaming, and also 2+ years working on 2+ AAA titles shipped as a UI artist, and hopefully one as a senior UI artist. So, I usually don't pay direct attention to these postings, but whenever I see this kind of stuff ramping up, there's always a change going on behind the scenes or something major. There was there's a lot of hubbub about a month ago at Square Enix when they did a posting saying, "Hey, this is the crew we need, effective immediately, working on basically for FF7 Remake and the rest of the projects. And this was after they announced that CyberConnect 2 wasn't going to be handling the rest of the assets, that they were moving the rest of that asset creation in-house, and they needed their own staff to do that. So yeah, these kind of postings aren't always just for, glitz and glamour and to boost some numbers. Sometimes it really does mean something big is in the works, but who knows?
Meh.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at too with this, honestly. If this materializes something cool, if not, oh well.
We said it here first.
Dibs.
They're making a game.
You heard it here. And the other thing you're about...
I followed the link. That sounded like it was going to be a good segue too, but I completely ruined it.
This guy.
I followed your link to your blurb of news, and by the time I was done reading, I'm like, that nothing burger tasted horrible.
I mean, did you taste the cucumber? Maybe the water? No,
it tastes like anything.
Not even the minerals?
Maybe it will. You are definitely more of an RPG fan than I am, and that's not to say I haven't had my fair share with them. But they're, in my world, they're pretty much done now.
Oh, okay. Wait, medium rare, well done.
What
RPGs for you? Like how cooked are they?
Oh well, in the case of this nothing burger, that motherfucker was raw.
Okay, so not done.
That was not done in the slightest.
Yeah, love it. Well,
okay, hey, let's do an info minute.
Watch out.
What do you have this week for the info minute?
Well, we've heard all this talk about global warming, things that are going on. What are we doing? What are we not doing? Los Angeles is within the last week has actually been taking a direct effort of all places. It turns out there's a mass movement to paint all their streets white to combat rising temperatures. Then jumping back a bit into this article, it's the last largest wildfire in LA's history. Scorched right at the edge of the city with record-breaking temperatures. The mayor, Eric Garcetti, recently said climate change is a fact of life that people in Los Angeles and cities around the world live with every day. So to respond to the challenge, he's saying, the paint is it's being used. It's actually a very light gray. It's called Cool Seal. The idea behind it is that hopefully it can lower temperatures of black asphalt streets and parking lots by up to 10 degrees. And so far it's worked.
Okay, so they have been doing this.
Yep.
But so I mean, what if they're going to do like the whole city now, or what? I mean, do they have any pictures with this?
They do. Here, let me pass you this.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no, they're expanding this in mass. Here, I'll post this to you. I think there are some other pilot projects that were springing up in other parks, bringing temps down from 93 actually to 70 degrees for it over time. I'm being slow with the link. Here you go.
It's all right.
And in fact, as much as you're saying that, oh wow, that link did disappear from Final Notes. Never mind. Thought I had something else that I posted to another area. But no. Streets in at least all 15 of LA's electoral districts have been coated with this paint. The project's following right along the heels of a push 3 years ago where they offered residents rebates if they painted the dark groups white. And there's been more encouragement to do this and just keep with the effort.
So, I mean, this. By the way, this is at newser.com. That's where you got it.
No, so it's one of the places.
Oh, one. Okay, I'm sorry. That's the
not
link
the source.
You gave me. That's the link you gave me.
Go on.
Newser.com. Maybe not the source material for it, but so this is kind of funny because this literally is white paint just on the concrete, and they're painting the road white, which is kind of funny. My immediate question comes to, what about the white lines?
Yeah, right. My question too.
Okay, we don't have an answer for that one. So, I mean, they're going to start doing like the interstates now and all that?
As far as I know, they've kept this to more of like a district project. They haven't really talked as much about the widespread like interstate travel, like out to like the actual I version of the roads. I doubt that. I'd imagine that would probably get pretty crazy and confusing if you coded the interstate, and you kind of lost track of lanes. So
right. So yeah, so I'm curious what they plan on doing for those, for the white lines. Are those going to be black now? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Are they just going to start making the roads out of a white concrete substance in the future to try to avoid having to go through this extra step? Did they even say?
Could happen. They didn't have direct details on that, but the reason I don't think it's going to conflict too much, at least like in neighborhoods like towns and whatnot, is once this stuff, again, because it's more of like a gray, once it actually seals and kind of settles, you can still have lane markers and stuff on top of it. There's not going to be a total erosion, like you won't, no dividers, no lanes, no like parking groups, like all that's going to remain. They're just putting down a coating stuff. So
interesting stuff. I live in Wisconsin. You live in some southern state. I can't which one.
Tennessee.
So you probably deal with this now. I dealt with this when I was living in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That you could crack an egg on the cement in most summer days, and sometimes other seasonal days, and you could cook that egg on the ground.
Yep.
Yeah, you could probably do that now, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, it is hotter than up here in Wisconsin. It can get hot. Most of that is humidity based, though, which isn't going to quite give you that ability to put a cookie tray of cookie dough out on the cement and bake your cookies. That can actually happen in parts of this country. So
yeah.
I suppose in mass, this probably will have some good effect.
Yeah, just a weird way that I really think about, I guess, combating this without some sort of legislature actually being passed or some kind of movement. It's been wild. This is something that's been thrown around our society, ranging from hoax to let's do something about it. Mostly let's do something about it. But yeah, just a kind of unique way here. So,
all right. I don't have any joke on this. This is good stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty base, pretty upfront. Don't worry. I'm actively looking for pizza bikinis, terrible cough syrup, whatever I can find. But alas, I couldn't find any this week.
Sometimes you just got to paint the road.
I agree.
There's a metaphor in there somewhere.
I'm seeing quite a few. I can think at least 3 or 4, but let's leave that to other people to think about.
There you go.
Love it. Alrighty. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode. Of course, stay locked right here. You can drop a like, fave, comment, or subscribe for much more news to come. And of course, hey, toss us a line anytime. That's ksawmedia@gmail.com. If you got a comment, what you hate, what you love. What do you feel about J.J. Abrams? Star Wars, we'd love to hear it.
Yes. Let us know. What do you think about EA's plans to cripple their own company?
Yeah, because none of us are going to be playing consoles or PCs within a couple of years anyway, so you need to weigh in on this now. I mean, get with the times. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, people.
No one wants to play real games.
No. I want my smart TV games.
Yeah.
Oh, but alrighty.
I like paying $460 per game.
Yeah, for every game, because like you said. The idea is you buy it and you throw out the console. If you're not doing that, you're not doing it right.
Console.
No, man. Get that out of here. Y'all take it easy. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next time.